Just 1 second. Yes, the recording's been started.
Chairman, over to you. Hopefully everybody has reassembled. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, October the 22nd. I now call this regularly scheduled virtual meeting of the Aurora Planning and Zoning Commission to order. I'll now call the roll of commissioners. Commissioner Jecic.
Present.
Commissioner Bush.
Present.
Commissioner Geiser.
Present.
Commissioner Riley.
Present.
Commissioner Benka.
Present.
Commissioner Hogan.
Present.
And Commissioner Walls is also present. We have established a voting quorum with 7 members present. The Pledge of Allegiance will not be said tonight, as tonight's meeting is virtual. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes from September 24th, 2025. Everyone received a draft of those minutes in their packet. Did you all have an opportunity to read and review them? Are there any amendments, corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the chair moves to approve the minutes as presented without objection. Do I have a second? Thank you,
Commissioner Jecic
Benka.
seconds.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the 24th of September without objection. Is there any discussion on the motion? Without discussion, is there any objection? Without objection, the minutes from the 24th will stand approved. Tonight, we've got 4 items of general business, items 8A through 8D. The chair moves to approve the agenda as presented without objection. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented without objection. Is there any discussion on the motion? Without discussion, is there any objection? Without objection, the agenda will be adopted as presented. I'll now read a summary of our policies and procedures for this evening's meeting. Please make sure your home or computer microphone is on mute unless you're speaking. The Planning and Zoning Commission meeting is a quasi-judicial hearing. There is no swearing in of those who will give testimony, but it is presumed that all parties are telling the truth. When addressing the commission as an applicant or their representative, please state your first and last name as well as the organization that you're representing. You may additionally state if you are an Aurora resident. If you are addressing the commission as a member of the general public for public testimony, please state your first and last name and if you are an Aurora resident. For each agenda item, there will be an initial presentation by city staff. Afterward, commissioners may ask questions of staff. Discussion of agenda items by commissioners will be conducted only following a motion and a second. Following the staff presentation, the applicant or their representative may choose to make a presentation or answer questions. The applicant will have 10 minutes for their presentation. Commissioners may ask questions of the applicant. Members of the public that have signed up to speak will each have 3 minutes to speak on the agenda item during the public comment period. It is asked that only new information be presented. The same arguments should not be repeated. Commissioners may ask questions of the public following their comments. After public comments, the applicant will have 5 minutes to address any public comments. Commissioners may ask questions of the applicant. The chair will ensure all commissioners have no further questions of the applicant or staff. The chair will then call for the question. After a motion has been made and seconded, the commissioners will then discuss the case amongst themselves. After the discussion, the chair will call the question. Commissioners are finders of fact and will vote based on their evaluation of the evidence presented as compared to Code Section 146. All rulings by the Planning and Zoning Commission are normally final. Exceptions are zoning map amendments, zoning code amendments, and comprehensive plan amendments that need City Council approval. Decisions by the Commission can be appealed to City Council by presenting a written appeal to the City Manager within 10 calendar days of the public hearing. City Council also has the discretion to call up any case whether an appeal has been made or not. Notices for this virtual meeting were published, posted to the city website, and the development projects were posted with signs on the properties. Notices were also mailed to adjacent landowners per city requirements. Okay, we don't have a consent agenda this evening, so this evening's first case is agenda item 8A. And this is the 13th Avenue Station Urban Renewal Plan located in Ward 1. Proviso for any members of the public joining us. This agenda item is not a public hearing. We'll be acting outside of a public hearing for this particular agenda item. Our case manager this evening is Jennifer Orozco. The applicant is the City of Aurora. And first, we will record for the minutes any commissioner site visits to the 13th Avenue Station. Commissioner Benka, Commissioner Bush. I can't see the rest of you. I'm scrolling through
Commissioner
my
Riley
video.
went.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley.
Hogan visited.
Thank you, Commissioner Hogan, and thank you, Commissioner Geiser. I think I've got everyone noted that visited. Okay, Jennifer, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Roscoe. I work in urban renewal for the city, and I really appreciate your time tonight. I'd like to share about the 13th Avenue Station urban renewal area. This is a proposed area, and unlike some of the other development cases that you'll be hearing tonight, this is not a public hearing. We are here because of state statute, which has a very specific process that must be undertaken before we can form a new urban renewal area. And part of that process is appearing before you to explain the plan and to seek your input. The state statute says that the Planning Commission should review the plan and decide whether or not it conforms with the general plan of the municipality. So tonight you're going to consider whether or not this proposed urban renewal plan conforms with our city comprehensive plan for our places.
Me like that? No.
Okay, so a quick overview of our urban renewal process. The first step in creating an urban renewal area is doing a site survey and going out to see if there are sufficient factors of blight in the area that we're considering. So this condition survey took place last year in the fall. Then those findings went before council in the spring, and they did deem that those were sufficient in order to declare this area blighted and appropriate for urban renewal. So that has happened. Since then, we have authored an urban renewal plan, a draft plan, and we prepared an impact report, which looks at the financial side of the urban renewal area and the project that we're trying to accomplish. And we prepared both of those documents, and we took them to our taxing partners in the area. So Arapahoe County, Aurora Public Schools, and Mile High Flood District. And we spent the summer explaining to them our plans and negotiating with them. And I'm proud to say that now here in the fall, we do have an agreement from all three parties to cooperate on this project. So we have draft cooperation agreements that we will be bringing. They've been signed by the other parties. We'll bring them forward to council for council approval on the Aurora side of things. So everything's lining up very well. And we're in good shape to move forward to council later this year, and then in the springtime have a public hearing. Here, this is just a graphic to remind you, those of you might not remember, we have 21 urban renewal areas throughout the city. And this will be our 22nd. We're getting a little bit of feedback. Is everyone on mute? That helped. Okay. So, council has 13 express goals for urban renewal. I've bolded the ones in this graphic to show the ones that are most relevant to the plan you're considering tonight. Those concern things like TOD, housing choices, having public gathering spaces and great places, and then finally having affordable housing within the city. Those are the most relevant goals for the plan that you're considering tonight. So why are we doing this plan? What is the purpose? Well, the problem that we are trying to solve in this area is an access problem. We have two really attractive development sites near the 13th Avenue Station, but they're both difficult to get to. There's one way in and out for both sites. There's the RTD site that's on the northern part of the graphic here in blue. You can access that from 13th Avenue. And then south of Tollgate Creek, there's the Bach, we refer to it as the Bach Homes site. It is a privately held land holding that is similarly handicapped by having only one point of access, and that's from Dillon Way. And so without having secondary access, neither one of these sites can fully ever develop to the level of density that the city has always envisioned in our comprehensive plan and in our stationary plan and in other documents for the city. Here's a little glimpse at the current condition. I was happy that some of you went out to visit the site. That's great. This photo is looking south from the parking lot, the RTD parking lot looking south. There's a 4.5 acre land area where we could do development. That's showing that here in this photo. There's 242 parking spots that are rarely used. There's a few other photos from around the area. You can see the creek corridor. You can see the current terminus of Dillon Way, the largely empty parking lot, current conditions. Here's a graphic that shows the concept for the bridge connection. It starts in the south at the terminus of Dillon Way. It moves north across the Tollgate Creek and then continues north along the edge of the RTD property up to 13th Avenue. And the cost estimate that we've been working from is an $8 million cost estimate, but that's a few years old. So we're crossing our fingers. Right now, engineering is underway. And so we're crossing our fingers, our toes, everything possible, really praying that the final number comes very close to 8 million. We'll see. And that's good vibes. Why here, why now? And that's a great question because there's some development surrounding this site that dates to the 1960s. So why hasn't this developed yet? And why is now the good time for it to happen? The timing is good because there's a lot of developments that are kind of coalescing right now. RTD is very open to redeveloping parking. You know, initially when the line opened, they were very protective of commuter parking, but they've really changed their position on that. We have an acute housing shortage in the city, and the crisis just seems to build each year. We've recently completed the trail along the creek. Bach Homes to the south, the site to the south, they're ready to move forward. And then the final thing is that there's a lot of grant money available right now for TOD. So all of those together mean this is a great time to move forward. And what would be our impact? It would be tremendous. If we can get this bridge built, we can add over 950 homes to the city in a great central location. And so on the RTD site, on the north part of this graphic, there's been concept plans that have showed that you could get about 430 units max on that property. And then looking at the southern property, the Bach Homes property, their current concept shows about 526 units. Excuse me. So that's a huge impact for this public improvement. It's a zoomed in view of the Bach Homes concept. This is not the concept that you would see in the final site plan. They're still working on their ideas, but it's meant to show that there is a group of apartment buildings, 4 or 5 story buildings, a series of buildings, as well as in this plan, they're looking at some rental townhomes with attached garages. So that's what they're looking at, and this shows you what could potentially fit on that site. This is looking at the RTD property, another concept drawing. And this concept drawing illustrates the fact that this property can accommodate several individual projects on this single property. And it shows a variety of densities. It starts along the creek with less dense product, and then as it moves north to the station, it becomes more dense. And this particular design goes up to 430 units. That's kind of the maximum that would fit under this type of development scenario. So the dollars behind what we're doing, I mentioned the $8 million for the bridge. So we've got $9 million to work with right now. We have $4 million in grant funding from DOLA. It comes through 2 different grants that we received. And then we have $5 million that was loaned to us from AURA. And the idea is that if we're successful establishing the urban renewal area, then we would use tax increment revenue from this area to repay that $5 million loan over the next 25 years. So a little bit more on the timeline. I mentioned the blight study, and I mentioned the cooperation agreements that we have with the taxing entities. But I did want to mention that concurrently with this process, Daniel Krasinowski was working to update the station area plan. And so all of last year, we worked together to do joint public outreach. We did a couple of public meetings. We had an online survey. We sent letters to property owners. We did postcards. We really interacted with the public jointly to explain the vision and the implementation side of things, which is through this urban renewal plan. So those 2 things have been working in concert, and so far it's worked very neatly. Dan got the plan final approval through council last month for the stationary plan, and then we're following right behind because we do refer to his plan in our document. So we follow right behind him, and we'll be starting to appear before council in December, targeting the early spring for final public hearing and adoption. So looking at the details of the plan, which was your job with the packet that you received before the meeting, I've highlighted a few of the plan provisions from section 7 that I think would probably have been most interesting to you. That section really deals with the physical side of development in this area. It talks about development principles, zoning, the preliminary concepts that I showed you. All of those physical items are in this section 7. And then, following that in section 8, we have a narrative that describes how this proposed urban renewal plan relates to other plans of the city, such as the comp plan, the 13th Avenue multimodal corridor study, the housing strategy, all these other city documents. We tried to explain their relationship to this urban renewal plan in this section 8. A little visual glimpse of the zoning and the surrounding properties. The 2 development sites that I mentioned are shown here. They're both MUTOD. They're surrounded by a variety of other zoning categories. As I mentioned, a lot of this development dates to the 60s and 70s that surrounds us. And then sort of wrapping up with this table that summarizes what I think are the best connections between our proposed urban renewal plan and various goals and recommended practices that are in Aurora Places. And so I think that on these topics, we do go pretty far in helping to implement these ideas from the Aurora Places plan. We're trying to provide people an alternative way of living next to transit where they might not need to use a car. We're taking advantage of pedestrian and bicycle connections. We're really trying to introduce some more housing at a variety of price points. We're looking to get affordable housing at the RTD station. We're finding new partnerships. We're using urban renewal. We're trying to concentrate development. And we really do want to create a high quality new neighborhood that has great design, great parks, active places, that sort of thing. So that's sort of the summary table of those cross connections between the plans. And then to kind of summarize and wrap up, again, the question before you tonight is, does this proposed urban renewal plan conform with the city's comprehensive plan? Does it implement Aurora Places as you think it should? And so tonight we're asking you to let us know what you think of the plan, discuss it, and if you're comfortable, vote on whether or not you agree that it conforms. I do want to let you know that according to state statute, you do have 30 days to review the plan. So if you're not comfortable tonight, if there are unanswered questions, or there's a lot of debate, want to take more time, you do have more time. But excuse me, if you like what you see and you are comfortable, it'd be great if you could vote tonight, and then we would take the minutes once they're final. We'll take the minutes with us when we go to council. So that's kind of all I have, and I'm happy to answer questions. And I thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you for your presentation, Jennifer. Great job. I'll open the floor for questions from the commission, and we'll start right off the top with Commissioner Geiser.
Yes, usually a TIF is a rebate of sales tax. So for residential units, this would be a rebate of property taxes.
Yes. Property tax and use tax.
So is it both use and property tax?
Yes, it is both, and it's not exactly a rebate. In this situation, the funds would flow to AURA, and then we would use that to repay the loan. The city would use that to repay the loan.
So that would reduce the income to Aurora and to all those the public schools and the third person.
Mile High Flood District. It doesn't reduce. Well, what it does.
That's what a TIF does, is it reduces the income.
Yes, but for our involvement here in creating this bridge, there would be no tax revenue. So it takes a portion of the new tax revenue and uses that to repay the $5 million debt that we would have. But because we enable all this new development, going forward, a portion of it would be available over the 25 years. And then after the 25 years, all of that new revenue will flow to the original taxing entities.
So as I said, all three taxing entities would receive less property taxes.
Initially, but they've all agreed to a cooperation agreement with us. And we did talk about the numbers with each of them, and they're all comfortable with this, with helping with this project.
That's interesting when the city of Aurora is facing such financial pressure in the next coming years. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we're focused not necessarily on the next year, but the next 25, 30, 50 years out. We're very long term.
I know, but they're still forecasting the next couple of years will be short. And the problem is that the city of Aurora has 75% of its income coming from sales tax. That's going to go down because people aren't shopping at shopping centers and et cetera.
But we're not touching sales tax because there won't be any in this area, but we will have 900 new homes full of people that will be shopping. So hopefully that'll help.
It still takes away income from the city of Aurora.
Thank you, Commissioner Geiser. Just to follow up, Jennifer, you mentioned discussing the numbers. Do you happen to have the delta change or reduction in property tax that will go to those three entities by any chance, or do you know off the top of your head what the reduction would be?
It's not a reduction, it's a share of the increment above the base. And the base actually doesn't.
Sorry, let me rephrase. How much less will those three entities be receiving as per their agreement to this particular TIF or a project?
I don't have a number of a percentage. Mile High Flood District has committed 100% of their revenues for this project. Arapahoe County has committed 60% of their revenues. APS has committed 70%, and then the city 100%.
Okay, thank you. Further questions from the commission? Commissioner Riley.
Thank you. So looking at the grants, how long are they going to last? I mean, if you haven't started using them yet, and then the cost that you estimate with the grant money, I think we're going to figure eventually that's going to be more expensive in the out years. So I just want to make sure that the grants don't expire if they're not used right away.
Yeah, we are on a clock with the grants. The first one goes through, we need to spend the money, and it's paying for engineering fees right now. And so it needs to be spent by next October. And so that's the first $2 million. And we do have engineers actively working on it. So we are spending that money. The second grant has a longer timeline. The second grant will go towards actual construction costs. And then we have the matching funds through the loan, and that doesn't have a timeline on that.
Okay, and then looking at our read ahead package, on the urban renewal plan and the criteria you have here. I went to the Colfax BRT hearing last night. I've been involved with Connect Aurora, and I'm also engaged in the Fitzsimmons Innovation Center. I didn't hear any of that discussed in tying things in, especially with Colfax BRT. Is there any consideration for some of these other multimodal transportation, land use, and employment center opportunities to strengthen your proposal?
Well, this proposal is looking at this specific area around the station, and people who will live in these areas can hop on the trail or on the train to get up to the campus. The urban renewal area is larger than those two TIF areas because that was the area of the study for the blight study. But there is a presumption that if we wanted to support any development in the broader yellow boundary that's not in any of these TIF areas, we would go ahead and amend the plan and create a new TIF area for any new development. And so if we were to do something along Colfax, that would be a whole nother process that we would amend this plan and have a whole focused idea for what would happen there. And yes, we would definitely want to tie into BRT and link in with the campus. And so yes, we kind of just left that. We wanted to signal to the world that yes, we're open to doing urban renewal in this area, but when it comes down to a specific project or a specific plan in that area, we will need to do a special amendment to this plan and really focus on that particular proposal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Further questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, and since this is not a public hearing, I will entertain a motion on agenda item 8A.
Commissioner Walls, item 8A, 13th Avenue Station Urban Renewal Plan. Based upon the presentation and discussion at this evening's public hearing, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission find the proposed 13th Avenue Station Urban Renewal Plan conforms with the general plan for development of the municipality as a whole.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Hogan. Do I have a second on the approval of 8A? Thank you, Commissioner Riley. I will open up the floor for discussion as we have a valid motion and second on the approval of 8A. I'd like to start off with this discussion by saying I think that aura and urban renewal within the city, how it's been used strategically with TIF and various grants and multiple sources of funding, I think is the way to do it. I think this sets the standard for public-private partnership development and redeveloping sites specifically that we've identified as a community need assistance, need help, are blighted areas of the city. And this has been a blighted location for quite a while. Driving past it every day, I think designating this urban renewal plan is the first of many steps forward, and I'm excited to see future projects of development within this urban renewal plan. So I fully support agenda item 8A and designating 13th Avenue Station as the urban renewal plan as it's been presented to us. So thank you. Further discussion on the approval of 8A? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Jecic,
Approve.
Commissioner Bush,
Approve.
Commissioner Geiser,
Approve.
Commissioner Riley,
Approve.
Commissioner Banka,
Approve.
Commissioner Hogan,
Approve.
and Commissioner Walls also votes to approve. Agenda item 8A will be approved, recommending to City Council. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, we will move on to agenda item 8B, which is the UDO amendment text change for the accidental potential zone district that's affecting all of our wards. Our case manager this evening is Jeremiah Fettig, and City of Aurora is the applicant. Jeremiah, the floor is yours.
All right, good evening, commissioners. I'm Jeremiah Fettig, and I'll be presenting the proposed UDO text amendments for the accident potential zone district this evening. So the Planning and Business Development Department recommends amending the Unified Development Ordinance, or the UDO, to promote additional development opportunities in the Accident Potential Zone, or APZ district. The proposed text amendment is to clarify development standards and requirements while protecting public health, safety, and the general welfare of the district. Through these proposed amendments, no property would be made non-conforming. And additionally, the proposal is to generally add back in a previously permitted use, light manufacturing, and then some general cleanup items. The APZ district's purpose is to ensure development around Buckley Space Force Base complies with the regulations of the U.S. Department of Defense. Development interest for the undeveloped properties within the APZ district began staff's examination of the current APZ district standards, where opportunities were identified to update the UDO to allow for additional development. So prior to October of 2019, the APZ district was an overlay zone district with underlying zoning designations. So this meant that development standards and uses were governed by the underlying zone district, while the APZ overlay imposed additional standards and restrictions. During the UDO update in 2019, the APZ district was revised to a standalone zone district designation from that previous overlay zone district. So this update saw previously residential and non-residential zone district designations become solely the APZ district. Under the previous code, manufacturing, processing, and fabrication was a permitted use in underlying business and office zone districts, which were B districts, and industrial zoning districts, which were M districts. So today's current light manufacturing use and definition aligns with what was previously permitted in the B and M districts prior to that 2019 update. So on the screen before you is a map showing the APZ district limits based on the prescribed measurements from the Buckley Space Force Base runways. So the district is comprised of the clear zone, that's shown as CZ. And then as we get further away from the actual base itself, we see APZ1 and then APZ2. So as I mentioned, the clear zone is the nearest to the base, that's located right at the end of the runways, and then APZ1 next, and then APZ2 as you get further away from the runways. There are additionally north and south designations or delineations to the APZ district. And then I did want to note that the city owns large areas abutting Buckley, and those are zoned parks and open space, but within that parks and open space zone district in section 2.5 of the UDO, there's very prescribed restrictions to what the city can and cannot do. So basically it's default APZ, but it's zoned parks and open space. So the map on the left is the former zoning. So this was prior to October of 2019. So you can see individual zone districts such as B districts in red, M districts in gray, residential districts in yellow. And then the map on the right is today's zoning. So areas directly abutting and adjacent to Buckley that represent the APZ district now are shown in the darker gray. So generally this runs northwest to southeast with an east-west oriented area along 10th Avenue. So you can also see the green parks and open space zoned areas in proximity to Buckley. So the text amendment proposal includes changes to 3 sections of the UDO. The sections are special purpose districts, permitted use table, and dimensional standards. So staff proposes revising the dimensional standard applicability from the existing reference for business tech I1 zone district to the existing standards in section 146-4.2, table 4.2-4. Additionally, within that section, we propose deleting a text reference to site plans to capture a broader range of applicable or application types when we apply evaluation criteria, as not all development may require a site plan. In the permitted use table, we propose adding light manufacturing as a permitted use. And additionally, we propose adding short-term rental, home adult or child day center, and home occupation as permitted accessory uses to existing residential properties. And then the final text revision is adding a 38-foot height maximum for residential uses in table 4.2-4 of the dimensional standards. So legal notice was published in the Aurora Sentinel in compliance with UDO, and Buckley Space Force Space was a referral agency for the development application and did provide comments on the proposal with concerns about additional proposed text amendments they viewed as relating to increasing residential density. So due to timing of this item going to public hearing before you all this evening and planned for City Council, and then with the government shutdown, staff was unable to discuss and explain those additional proposals. Those revisions as proposed would have resulted in no change to residential density than what's in the code, but we left it as it was and removed those items from the original text ordinance proposal. So a more comprehensive review and update to the APZ district is likely to occur in the future, just based on staff's observations and review of the code. So Buckley's comments were included as Exhibit C in tonight's packet for agenda item 8B. So the proposed UDO text amendment furthers the vision and goals of the Aurora Places Comprehensive Plan, specifically the principles of a strong economy and a healthy community. So by providing additional development and employment opportunities while also maintaining a safe environment. On the slide before you is the approval criteria for ordinance text amendments to the UDO, and staff believes the proposal meets approval criteria C. So staff recommends approval of the ordinance text amendment to the City Council for the APZ district because it is consistent with the spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan and policies adopted by City Council and is required to promote economic growth and investment that will not create material risks to the public health, safety, and welfare. So with that, that concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jeremiah. I'll open the floor for questions from the commission. I think I just have one, and it's from Exhibit C that you just mentioned from Buckley. They were concerned about the changes being unexpected, which is what it is, but they were concerned about the potential for increasing the residential density in the APZ district. And I'd like you to speak to that concern just a little bit.
Yeah, so we had proposed to move the 1 dwelling unit per acre from the use specific standards and move that into the dimensional standards. So that table 4.2-4, just because, right, as staff, we answer the phone, we get a question. Typically, we don't go search for dimensional standards in the use specific standards. Rather, we would look at the dimensional standards in section 4.2 of the UDO. Additionally, we did review the Department of Defense and they permit, or their, I guess, installation manual does allow up to 2 dwelling units per acre, and we did not, ask to increase that. We were just like moving the information from one section of the code to the other. So yeah, we feel that there would be no result in residential density based on those proposals.
Did you actually was there some sort of interface with Buckley beyond the letter that they submitted? Were there conversations back and forth? Or I'm curious why the letter doesn't go quite far enough. It says that they don't support it in its current iteration or its current language, but I don't get a sense of really why Buckley's not supportive of this. And so that leads me to my question of, should this maybe wait until the federal government is resumed and go through a layer of transparency with the base and with the federal government before we move forward as a city?
Yeah, so we removed the items of concern completely from the proposed UDO amendment. So the rest of the changes were conveyed, a majority of those, I believe, were conveyed and they did not raise concern over what we have before you this evening. So there were prior conversations before we proposed this text amendment. We do have a contact at the base, one of the planning staff there. So the light industrial or light manufacturing use was proposed and agreed to by them. And that's where we then set off to do this proposed amendment. But they didn't raise concern with any of the other items in the UDO text amendment that's in the Exhibit B.
Okay, that's an important clarification. Thank you very much. Further questions from the commission? Okay, seeing none. Susan, do we have any members of the public signed up to speak on 8B?
Chair, we do, and that person is Sal Perdomo, and they should be able to speak now.
Okay, you have the ability to unmute yourself. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name for the record and if you are an Aurora resident.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. This is Sal Perdomo. I'm not a resident of Aurora. The firm I work for is Titan Development. And yeah, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Chair, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I appreciate you giving me a few minutes to speak. Our firm, Titan Development, is the contract purchaser of a 76-acre infill property located in Aurora within the APZ zone. We are fully in support of this change as it will allow light manufacturing uses within the APZ zone and will enhance economic development and employment opportunities within this area of Aurora. I'd also like to thank planning staff for all of their hard work to bring forward this proposed text amendment and for aiding in conversations with Buckley, who, as mentioned, was supportive of this proposed change. We look forward to working in the city of Aurora, and thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you for your testimony, Sal. Any questions from the commission? Okay, Susan, do we have anyone else signed up to speak?
Chair Wells, we do not.
Okay, and I will conclude this portion of the public hearing and entertain a motion on agenda item 8B. Okay, on agenda item 8B, the chair rises to a motion. The UDO text amendment based on the staff recommendation, the presentation and discussion at this evening's public hearing. I move to recommend approval to the Aurora City Council of the ordinance text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance to allow for text changes for the APZ district because the proposal complies with the requirements of Code Section 146-5.4.1.c.3.b of the UDO for the reasons stated in the staff report. The chair has moved to approve the agenda item 8B. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Bacon. It's been moved and seconded to approve 8B. I'll open the floor for discussion from the commission. First of all, I'd like to say it's good to see these kind of text amendment changes to the UDO that further clarify, especially something like this where there have been an iteration of changes throughout the years as the UDO was adopted. And second of all, it's great to have public testimony present, actually speaking to some of these text changes or our UDO changes. We don't often get public testimony, and to hear from a developer that's actually developing a decent sized piece of land in an APZ district, that's really helpful for the commission. And I fully support moving this forward and recommending to City Council the approval of 8B. Further discussion on the approval of 8B? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Jecic,
Approve.
Commissioner Bush,
Approve.
Commissioner Geiser,
Approve.
Commissioner Riley,
Approve.
Commissioner Benka,
Approve.
Commissioner Hogan,
Approve.
and Commissioner Walls also votes to approve. That's 7 votes to approve. Agenda item 8B is approved. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 8C, which will be a joint presentation for 8C and 8D, although we will handle those motions separately. Recording for the minutes, site visits to the Bubble Car Wash potential location at Station 6D. Commissioner Benka, Commissioner Riley, Commissioner Bush, Commissioner Jecic, Commissioner Geiser, and Commissioner Walls. Okay, 8C is the Bubble Bath Car Wash at Station 6D, which is the first motion that we'll entertain after the public hearing is the conditional use, second being the site plan. Located in Ward 2, our case manager this evening is Stephen Gabrud. The applicant is Evergreen Devco. Stephen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. This is Stephen Gubrud, and I will be presenting agenda items 8C and 8D on behalf of Planning and Business Development staff for your consideration this evening. The applicant's agent, Kimley Horn and Associates, on behalf of the applicant, Evergreen Devco, is requesting approval of a conditional use for an automated motor vehicle wash located within the MUC zone district. The applicant is also requesting approval of a site plan for the approximately 4,302 square foot car wash tunnel on an approximately 1.69 acre site. No adjustments have been requested as part of this proposal. Currently on screen is a vicinity map showing the subject property's general location. The proposed site is located directly north of East Colfax Avenue between Norfolk Street and Airport Boulevard. The subject parcel is also located within Planning Area 3 of the Station 60 Master Plan. Station 60 is bound by Colfax Avenue to the south, Airport Boulevard to the east, Norfolk Street to the west, and the Highline Canal Trail corridor on the north. PA3 is designated as being intended for commercial development. Here we have a more up-to-date aerial image that is from September of this year. You can see the Quick Trip fueling station now constructed to the east of the subject site, and the Mural Affordable Multifamily Community is located there to the north of the proposed site. The subject property is zoned MUC, Mixed Use Corridor Zone District. It is located within City Subarea A and is part of the City Corridor Place Type according to the Aurora Places Comprehensive Plan. All adjacent properties are also located within the MUC Zone District. Other nearby zoning designations include the RMH Residential Manufactured Home District to the west and northeast, R2 Medium Density Residential District to the northwest, R1 Low Density Single Family Residential District a little further to the northwest as well, and we do have some POS Parks and Open Space zoning to the north. The purpose of the MUC district is to provide retail goods and services to satisfy the household and personal needs of the residents of nearby residential neighborhoods, those traveling on adjacent collector or arterial corridors, and to allow for higher intensity general business and service activities. Development within the MUC district should be located and designed to allow for access by pedestrians, bicycles, and public transportation in addition to automobiles. Specific to Subarea A, the district is intended to promote sustainable infill redevelopment of older commercial sites while mitigating impacts of this development on surrounding areas. I'll now go through some of the site photos relating to this case. This first slide shows a northeast and northwest facing view of the property as viewed from East Colfax Avenue. You can also see the public hearing notice sign for this evening's hearing in the foreground there. Here we have an east-facing image taken from that same location along Colfax. You can observe the Quick Trip motor vehicle fueling station to the east across one of the development's private roadways. This image is a west-facing view of the subject parcel taken from that private roadway you were just looking at, and that is looking out to the west towards Norfolk Street. And then lastly, we do have a south-facing image of the vacant property as seen from the east-west aligned private road located at the subject property's northern boundary. 5 adjacent properties and 14 registered, or 5 adjacent property owners rather, and 14 registered neighborhood organizations were notified about the development application. No comments were received during the proposal's 4 formal review cycles. Mailed notices and the public hearing notice board were sent and posted a minimum of 10 days prior to tonight's meeting in accordance with the requirements of city code. Following posting of the public notice sign, 5 comments were received regarding the proposal, all expressing opposition to the project. 3 of these comments were initially included in your packets as Exhibit D, and the other 2 were included via an addendum. Main topics of concern raised from the public comments include proximity to other car wash uses in the area, concern with water use and conservation practices, quality of the building architecture and overall design, and the general maintenance and operation standards of the Station 60 development. During staff review of the development application, planning worked with the applicant on a variety of design elements for the site, the most critical of which include architecture and four-sided building design, overall landscaping and screening of vehicle queuing areas, and building frontage, orientation, and provision of typical on-site amenities. Oops. Another key consideration specific to conditional use applications is fulfillment of the CUP criteria currently listed on screen. To briefly expand, those criteria require that the application must comply with applicable standards of city code as well as the Station 60 master plan, be consistent with the comprehensive plan, including the city corridor place type designation, be compatible with the size, scale, height, density, traffic impacts, and hours of operation of existing and proposed uses in the surrounding area, not change the predominant character of the surrounding area, utilize or provide adequate multimodal infrastructure to serve the site, not dislocate existing tenants or occupants of the property, and provide mitigation for any adverse effects to the highest degree practicable. UDO section 146-4.8 lists the various building design standards applicable to development within Aurora. During the 4 reviews which have occurred for this project, a number of considerations regarding this code section were addressed in order to improve the aesthetic and practical qualities of the building and site. Architecture was identified as a particularly critical element for meeting the conditional use criteria due to high visibility along East Colfax Avenue. After discussions and modifications to the plans, the proposed building now implements methods of horizontal articulation, including changes in materials and roof form to break up the longer facades and provide a level of visual interest. On the east-facing primary facade, architectural elements have been included, such as increased glazing and use of an awning that will include pedestrian scale light fixtures. Masonry will be visible on all elevations, as the building will feature a tower structure that is clad entirely in stacked stone. You'll see on these plans from the most recent submittal that an electronic message board was proposed for the 2 locations on this elevation. Those were both located on the tower. The applicant has been informed that EMBs are limited to ground-mounted monument signs, and therefore this feature will be removed from subsequent submittals. As it pertains to landscaping, the applicant worked with staff to find solutions on how to adequately landscape the site to accommodate this automobile-oriented use. As the subject parcel is surrounded on 3 sides by right-of-way, a well-integrated landscape design was necessary to screen any vehicle queuing areas and reduce the impact of dock doors when not in operation. Special attention was placed on the landscape buffer along the southern edge of the site, which fronts onto East Colfax Avenue. In this area, a robust planting of shrubs and use of trees such as Colorado bristlecone pine will be used to maintain an appealing and natural on-street ambience. When addressing any type of development application that involves the construction of a primary building, street frontage and overall site configuration are a high priority from a planning perspective. Buildings within the MUC zone district are required to front onto a public or private street built to City of Aurora roadway manual specifications. The proposal achieves this by fronting onto the private road located along the site's eastern edge. This will help to create visual engagement for those exiting the adjacent automobile fueling station located across that private drive. Furthermore, the applicant has worked with staff to include a pedestrian patio area, which will feature amenities such as seating and trash receptacles, allowing employees or customers an area to sit and take a break as necessary. The Bubble Bath Car Wash's business operations plan indicates that the business intends to be open for 12 hours each day. That will occur from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The business would have 2 shifts per day with 3 to 5 employees on site per shift. Bicycle parking has also been included in the form of URACs as required by city code. UDO section 146-4.5.3 4.5.4 146-5.4.3.8.3, excuse me, I'm so sorry, lists the criteria necessary to approve a conditional use application. Staff finds that the application does meet these criteria because the application complies with all applicable standards and criteria in the Unified Development Ordinance. It's consistent with the comprehensive planned city corridor place type and will help further city goals of supporting new commercial uses within this place type that can serve the surrounding neighborhoods. The size, scale, height, density, traffic impacts, and hour of operations are compatible with existing uses in the area and will not change the predominant character of the area. There is adequate capacity with existing and proposed infrastructure to serve the proposed development, and adverse impacts to the surrounding area have been mitigated. UDO section 146-5.4.3.B.2.C lists the criteria necessary to approve a site plan application. Staff finds that the application meets these criteria because the application does comply with the standards and criteria within the Unified Development Ordinance. The site development utilizes and provides improvement to existing city infrastructure. The application would improve upon and expand multimodal connections with adjacent sites and surrounding development. The landscape buffers, site circulation, and access design mitigate any adverse impacts to the surrounding area to the highest degree practicable. And the size, scale, height, density, multimodal traffic impacts, and hours of operation are compatible with existing and planned future uses within that area. Based on these findings, and for the reasons stated in tonight's presentation and within the staff report, staff recommends approval of Agenda Item 8C, conditional use request to allow a motor vehicle wash within the MUC zone district. For the aforementioned reasons, staff also recommends approval of Agenda Item 8D to allow for a site plan for an approximately 4,302 square foot car wash facility on an approximately 1.69 acre site. Approval to be subject to one condition: resolution of outstanding technical issues prior to recordation of the site plan and issuance of any building permits. And with that, I've concluded my presentation and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant is also present and does have a presentation as well that will follow mine. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Stephen. I'll open the floor for questions from the commission. Commissioner Riley.
Probably not very germane to the actual recommendations coming up, but I attended an Aurora Water presentation the other day, and we're hearing that we're going to start seeing a reduction in available water. And when you do these plans for car washes, are there any considerations that are levied as far as reutilization of water? As we look at the requirement to have 8,000 acre foots to substantiate and to keep areas with water.
It looks like Sarah Young, who is our representative from Aurora Water, has activated her camera, and I guess I would probably defer that question to her.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. Yes, absolutely. We consider reuse when we're considering car washes. So across the city, we have what's called a large water user guide. That requirement restricts restricts development, especially industrial and commercial properties, to a certain gallons per day per acre. So that's how we kind of manage overall water use for different industrial and commercial properties. As you can imagine, though, car washes and laundromats, as specific examples, are a very small footprint and relatively a higher water use. So oftentimes they do not fit into that large water user guide, but in order to still allow those types of facilities, instead what we require is that car washes recycle at least 75% of the water that they use. And then we also require that laundromats, as an example, use the highest efficiency appliances.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Sarah, just before we let you go, can you give your full name and title and department with the city just for our minutes?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Sarah Young. I'm an assistant general manager in Aurora Water. I oversee the planning, engineering, and technology teams for the water department.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions for staff from the commission? I guess I just had a question, and especially due to some of our appeals that have recently been heard at city council on sort of business density, how in your public meetings and in your interface with the public, since we have, obviously the blue sheet submitted and quite a bit of testimony included from the public against this particular conditional use, what does your interface look like with the public, and what's the staff response to the public as it relates to the density issue, to the community kind of speaking against this particular application? How does staff respond to that?
I guess to address the first part of that question, I think what you're getting at is what is kind of the platform for those comments to be submitted. Am I correct?
No, I think we've got the comments and we have that in front of us. I was just curious how staff responds to any of those, how it was responded to in any of the public meetings, if any of this particular feedback was received by staff. What's the response from city staff to the public?
Well, I guess specifically in this case, I will say this to begin with. There hasn't been a public meeting prior to this one that has occurred, and that is because no comments were received during the actual formal review periods. Due to the nature and the timing of when these comments were received, I was able to respond to those on a case-by-case basis. I know some were also addressed to members of city council and the mayor, and I know some responses happened there as well. And so, yeah, typically we just respond to those on a personal basis as they come in, if that makes sense.
Sure, and I'm pressing you a little bit. I'd like to know what your responses were to the public.
Oh, and that,
can you
absolutely,
walk
yeah.
us through? Yeah.
Yeah, speaking more towards, I think, the second part of what you were saying there, we do understand that there are concerns about density and co-locations of certain kinds of businesses. Really, from a planning perspective, we look at a given application to meet the criteria within the UDO and the approval criteria for the specific application type. I've tried to be as communicative as possible with members of the public, relay to them those sections of city codes that are applicable, and invite them to review them and come speak at the meeting if they do feel so inclined.
Thank you, Stephen. Further questions for staff from the commission? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the applicant's presentation. You'll have 10 minutes to present. Please identify your name, company, and optionally you can state whether or not you're an Aurora resident.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Again, good evening. Thank you all for your time this evening. Thank you, Stephen, for your presentation. I'm Jessica Glavis. You all have seen me before, and you probably wonder why I'm here, as I am a Quick Trip employee. I'll get to that briefly. So let me intro my team. Next slide, please. I don't think I can change it. So I'm from Quick Trip. I have on the phone Ashley Goodrich, our civil project manager, Andrew Lundberg with Kimley Horn, the civil engineer, Jeff Plank with Kimley Horn, our traffic engineer, David Foster and Amelia Steffen, our attorney partners. Next slide, please. So who is Bubble Bath? Bubble Bath was founded in San Antonio, Texas in 2005. They are family owned and operated. I'll get to this part. So Quick Trip has acquired Bubble Bath because they shared our values of customer service and operation. So we are all family owned and operate all of our locations. As we've discussed before, no franchises. We also like that they were more than a car wash with a goal to be a responsible community partner. And therefore, primary tenets of business are supporting our neighbors, nurturing the next generation, serving those who serve, and protecting our planet. Next slide. Oh, wait, sorry. Stay here. I didn't realize that was on the same slide. My bad. So our acquisition, as I said, because it is a cultural and philanthropic fit, Quick Trip decided to acquire Bubble Bath. We are now calling it QT Bubble Bath. And we love that they fit with Quick Trip's culture and goals to promote employees from within and be a responsible community partner. Our future plans with Bubble Bath, QT Bubble Bath, are to expand the car wash business, combine the car wash service with QT rewards, and then provide more opportunities for employees like myself to grow and succeed. Next slide now, for real this time. So the site location, Stephen already kind of went over this. It's between Airport and Norfolk on Colfax. Next slide. This is our master plan for Station 60. This slide really is so I could provide a little bit more history of this site. We partnered initially with Kentro Group to master plan this 23+ acre parcel starting in 2020. We also worked with the neighbor to the south, Salud, to determine and design the realignment of Norfolk so we can have a cohesive development of the whole area corridor. We then worked with Roars to bring the affordable housing development on the north portion of the property. And now we are working with Evergreen Devco to bring some commercial development to the remainder of the property so that we have overall cohesive residential and retail community. And we think this site is a great fit for us due to zoning, surrounding use compatibility, the traffic that already exists on Colfax and access. And let's see. Next slide now, and I will hand it off to David Foster and be here for questions at the end.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. David Foster with Foster Graham. I want to be brief because Stephen did a really fine job in his presentation and in the staff report walking through criteria. This is actually a criteria that wasn't mentioned, 146.335 RR. This is actually a distance requirement, and we need to be 500 feet from the intersection, and we are in fact 650 feet. So this is that one objective distance requirement that is appropriate for this conditional use approval. Next slide, please. These are, again, the same criteria that Stephen went through, just highlighted a little bit differently, identify a couple of different issues. You know, in this particular instance, as you know, because you saw it back in 2022 and City Council approved it as well in 2022, the Station 60 Master Plan. And that was just 3 years ago. Many of you may have been on this commission at that time, reviewing and approving us. And it identified this very site for a commercial use of this nature. It's consistent with the UDO and the master plan. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan of the city. We have been shown the city corridor place type. And in fact, we identify on page 44 that this area is an auto-oriented area in fact, and it makes this proposed use entirely consistent with the comprehensive plan. Next slide, please. The third criteria here, size, scale, height, density. This is another criteria, of course, that's important. This also kind of interplays a lot with the site plan criteria. And you probably saw in the staff report, a lot of time has been spent on proper orientation, architecture, the four-sided architecture that Stephen spoke about just a moment ago, and a lot of the landscaping issues. 4 is compatibility with existing and planned uses in the surrounding area. Again, it's not often that I have a master plan that is so site specific to turn to, like I do in tonight's hearing, like the Station 60 plan, but we have that available. The city's infrastructure, Commissioner Bailey asked the question about Aurora Water will meet all of Aurora Water standards. That's not a debatable issue. Water reclamation is fundamental in these types of uses. And of course, water is too precious. And frankly, in Aurora, water is too expensive not to be doing it the right way. The next slide, please. That we are not going to be dislocating any tenants or occupants. We know this is vacant property. And then 7 is the application mitigates adverse impacts. That goes back to the landscaping, the architecture, the orientation. We believe that the impacts have been mitigated to the greatest extent possible. I certainly understand and appreciate concerns from others in the community in terms of competition. I don't view that as a criteria in terms of adverse impact that you would otherwise review in this quasi-judicial process based on these criteria. We'll be available to answer any questions as well, and I think I'm turning it back over to Andrew or to Jessica or to
Over
somebody.
to Andrew is perfect.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, as mentioned before, my name is Andrew Lundberg. I work with Kimley Horn. We are the civil engineers that have been working with Quick Trip on this project with the development and the site plan and landscape. As Stephen spoke before, there are several criteria as far as site plan approval. We believe that we meet all of those. The application does comply with all standards of the UDO, and we have been addressing any comments the city has had through the several review several review applications that we've had. The city's existing infrastructure and public improvements. There are no anticipated adverse effects. As mentioned, we'll be reclaiming water. We're integrating walkability, bike access, several access points to sidewalks and right-of-way. There is no plans to adversely affect natural areas, ridgelines, swales, landforms. The site is currently vacant, overlot graded, and does not currently affect any of the mentioned areas. This is also going to expand the multimodal connections. As you'll see in later slides, the access point for the site is on the north side of the site on a private drive. So that's going to help with access points along Colfax Ave, which will help with any type of traffic concerns there might be. And as mentioned several times, this is highly compatible with throughout the uses with the area and adjacent sites. And we've spent especially a lot of time to address any issues associated with facade, materials, and appearance of the building due to its proximity to the road. And there are, again, no anticipated negative effects on the surrounding area. Next slide, please. Just going to walk you through a couple of the
Just to
slides.
let you know, you have about 30 seconds remaining.
Okay, great. If you can just skip to the last few slides where we discuss kind of the environmental impact, just come on and address those real quick. It's really important to recognize, as stated, that water reclamation is a must when it comes to car washes, and Quick Trip and Bubble Bath are utilizing the best-in-class, highest efficiency water reclamation systems that we can, because as mentioned, it's expensive, and it's really important for us to maintain high quality standards and use the least amount of water as possible. On average, we're using between 14 and 22 gallons per car, which is about a fifth of what you'd have in an at-home wash. So
Your time has expired.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you guys all for your time. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. I'll open up the floor for questions from the commission for the applicant. Okay, seeing none. Susan, do we have any members of the public signed up to speak on 8C or 8D?
Chair Walls, we do, and our first speaker is Emily Barada. Emily, you should be able to speak.
Okay, and as a reminder to our public testifying, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and whether you are an Aurora resident or not. Go ahead, Emily. You should be able to unmute yourself. Oh, did we just?
Is that it? Did
Sure.
it
Yep,
work?
there we go. Yes. I
Okay,
can hear you now.
sorry for the delay. Okay. So Emily Barada, I own and run Gleam Car Wash, and I don't live in Aurora, but I am a small business owner in Aurora. I thought I had 5 minutes to speak, so I'll speak fast. Time to go? All right, so first of all, thank you for your time and for your voluntary service for the betterment of the city of Aurora. I know no one here is being paid. I'm a small business owner in Aurora and Denver, and I have created 50 jobs between my 2 car washes, 15% of which are held by neurodiverse individuals. 2 years ago, I made a huge investment in Aurora by opening my second car wash on an underdeveloped, blighted corridor along East Colfax between Chambers and Airport. I'm a very good business citizen and one of the strongest car wash operators out there. I'm a single mom of 2 8-year-olds. I pay taxes, I work hard, and I create businesses that do give back in measurable ways. I'm a business owner that I think you want to thrive in your community. I'm here today, obviously, to ask you to use your discretionary power to vote against a conditional use approval for the Quick Trip bubble bath application. To be perfectly frank, despite the fact that I know how to run a business, as is evidenced by my first car wash, which just turned 9 years old, the local market at Airport and Colfax cannot support another tunnel car wash. Gleam is not even breaking even. The market is saturated. There are 3 locally owned car washes within 500 yards of the proposed location and 10 washes within a 2-mile radius. And the Quick Trip wash will put me and possibly the other locally owned washes in the immediate neighborhood likely out of business. Quick Trip does not need a car wash. They just want a car wash. They have over 1,000 locations. They got into car washing 2 years ago. They have deep pockets and they can and will buy market share through below market pricing. I think they even mentioned QT rewards, which is just what another competitor, Cobblestone, has spent the last 5 years doing throughout the region. And now they are raising prices since they have become so well established in the market. So Quick Trip uses car washes to enhance their already profitable convenience store and gas business, which creates no good jobs, generates no sales taxes, and wastes potable water. If Quick Trip puts me out of business, then all 50 of my employees across my 2 locations, including the 15% of my staff who are neurodiverse, will lose their jobs. I will lose more than that, and it is my belief that Aurora will lose more than that as well. In addition, it is my view that the criteria for approving a conditional use permit under the ordinance have not been met relative to provisions A, E, and G, with G being the most compelling. G requires a conditional use to mitigate any adverse impacts to the surrounding area. If you approve this application, you will create an adverse impact to the surrounding area. Quick Trip's bubble bath will likely cause 3 small, locally owned businesses to fail. This will create new blight along a corridor that was just starting to perk up due in no small part to efforts and investments and risk by individual citizens like myself. Blight, unemployment, and the shuttering of local business is adverse impact and the exact opposite of what designating a use as conditional and therefore not a use by right is meant to accomplish. When a city designates a use as conditional, it is precisely to enable a city the latitude to evaluate new developments based on need and merit and the greater good. On all 3 fronts, an approval for this conditional use fails. Please vote no, and by doing so, protect small businesses, conserve water, and I'm sure we can find a use for those 1.3 acres, a commercial use that will enhance rather than destroy community. At the very least, please delay a vote until the community has more time to weigh in on the ramifications of this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I'll open the floor for questions from the commission for Emily. Seeing none. Susan, who's up next?
We have Elijah Williams.
Okay. Elijah, please state your name for the record and if you are an Aurora resident. And you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I am Elijah Williams. I am a 40-year resident of Aurora. Over that time, I've worked as a commercial general contractor, designer, a small business owner, and for the last 15 years, a car wash engineer, consultant, and installer. I'm here tonight to ask you to oppose the conditional use for the Bubble Bath Quick Trip car wash. This car wash is both unnecessary and poorly located in what is already a saturated car wash market. The distance from this proposed car wash can be measured in feet, not miles. Within just a few thousand feet, there are already existing facilities, D-Hand Detailing, the self-serve Wash on Laredo, and the new Gleam Car Wash. The optimal spacing for conveyor-style car washes is 2 miles apart to allow each to operate successfully. Additionally, industry data shows that one conveyor car wash for 20,000 residents. Aurora has 400,000 population and already has 30 conveyor car washes, with 12 to 15 of those built in just the past 3 years. I don't see this as healthy competition. It's oversaturation. I would like to talk about 3 locations in Aurora that have seen this negatively affect the surrounding car washes and businesses. Aurora Parkway at Smoky Hill, the original Mr. Twin Tunnel, was there for 15 years. It was busy on weekends, but you get through. In the last 5 years, Cobblestone and Vibe Car Wash have moved in. All 3 of these washes are now operating at 30% of their capacity. The other area is Havana South, where the Four Seasons Car Wash operated since the 90s. Cobblestone remodeled the auto wash, offered 3 months of free car washes, followed by 6-month membership for $18. 9 months of essentially free car washes, negatively impacting a long-standing business. Then another large car wash, Waterway, was approved to remodel a commercial building less than a mile away off of Parker. It can also be seen on Tower Road, where the H2Wow was the standing car wash. Then Ronnie's Car Wash was built. I don't even think they opened before Ronnie's was acquired by Cobblestone and then forced H2Wow to also sell to Cobblestone. Then within the last couple of years, another large car wash chain, Superstar, has moved in within a mile of those car washes. I've heard the argument about free market, and while I understand this in a broad economic sense, the situation is not true free market at all. What's happening here is predatory pricing. Large national chains are buying their way into the market, giving away months of free car washing and deeply discounting memberships. This is an undercut to local operators. It isn't fair competition. These kind of corporations don't contribute locally. They don't hire locally as contractors or installers. They don't source local materials. They don't reinvest their profits here. They simply extract value and move on. We are also seeing this planning duplication.
Your time has expired. Thank you. Susan, who do we have up next?
We have Doug McMurran.
Hey, Doug, you should have the ability to unmute yourself.
We're good.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Good evening, commissioners. I've been before many commissioners in my life. I've developed over 4 million square feet of shopping centers, Walmarts, Home Depots, Targets, Sam's Clubs. I developed and owned 2 Quick Trips in Atlanta, Georgia. They're a very good corporation. I'm not here to, talk bad about them at all. I am one of the property owners at 15200 East Colfax, which is the former Super Kmart, Vasa Fitness, La Plaza, and Aurora Mucho. Rarely would I ever speak against commercial development. Emily and her family have done a magnificent job. You have one of the best car washes in I think in the whole metro area of Denver. But Quick Trip's lawyer aptly pointed out, they've met all the conditions, so you're required to approve them. Speaking personally to the mayor Saturday, I said, Mayor, this is wrong. You know, it's we're in a down market, and as commissioners, I believe that not promoting blight, preventing blight, and getting rid of blight is important to you. And I would tell you that having that many car washes that close together, Emily's business is going to go under. And she shared with me way before this was open for this new Quick Trip car wash that she was struggling, that her partners were having to reorganize their finances and have to do capital calls. I don't know if any of you are small business owners, but if you've ever had to do a capital call with partners, it's extremely painful. This isn't about staff's review of the standards, the facades, the landscaping, the setbacks, the traffic. This is about, as the mayor said on Saturday, the city's ratables are down, the sales taxes are down, and I suspect they're going to go further down. I would ask you to not approve this. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's, if you put local businesses under, you're creating blight. And I guarantee you, Emily will appeal this to city council, and then it will become a political issue. I don't think it has to be. I think if you make the right choice and turn this down, maybe one day in the future, you could have 10 car washes all next to each other, and it'd be a great thing. But I don't think that's the case.
Doug, thank you. Your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Susan, who do we have up next?
Chair, I do have one other person that did sign up, but I don't believe that they are on the call. And the person's name is Elena. And that's all I have.
Could you give us the spelling for that? And we'll do a call. And if this person is on the call, please raise your hand if you're with us on Teams.
So the name is spelled E-L-E-N-A.
Just give it a few seconds here to see if anyone responds, because I know that sometimes people sign in under other people's accounts and don't change the name. So I want to give opportunity just in case. One final call for Elena. Okay. I will now the applicant the opportunity. You'll have 5 minutes to respond to any of the public testimony.
Jessica, do you want me to speak? You want to go?
Sure, you can go, and then I'll add anything if I have more.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you everybody for participating, and of course, it's important to have the public here and involved as well. I would first like to begin by saying that having represented Quick Trip and many of the employees over the years, they do hire local. So I'm unsure why we're having that conversation about this conditional use, but I just wanted to set the record straight. You know, in this particular instance, and the reason why I used the slide earlier is because City Council, the city, has made a determination in terms of distance requirements, which, by the way, there was a Quick Trip conversation not too long ago in front of Planning Commission around how many filling stations, gas stations is too many in a certain area. And you'll remember in that particular conversation that the city wasn't regulating how many gas stations can exist within a certain area. And unlike other jurisdictions, as we've seen in Denver and Lakewood and some other places. But this is a different instance because this is a circumstance where the city has made a determination around distance, and it's an objective standard. And so that objective standard's met. And so the issue of mitigating any adverse impacts on the surrounding area is something that we have done through architecture, through orientation, through landscaping. To the extent that the city makes a decision or that you make a decision that this particular use in this particular location is unwarranted because of its competitive nature, it's a very different standard of review. That's a very different place that you would be going in terms of your land use authority. And I would suggest that for the many years that I have been a land use attorney, the mitigation of adverse impacts is about how we function. It's about how this use in this location functions. And that is what we've seen presented tonight in terms of the architecture and the design and the orientation. And frankly, in this particular instance, because I had seen it in a letter written by Emily, I believe is her name, and then a state senator from Denver about water use. And in this particular instance, again, we are complying with all of the regulations that Aurora would ask of us as business owners using a precious resource. And so we are doing that appropriately. Jessica, I don't know if you have anything else to add. I think those were kind of the biggest issues, or kind of the only issues I heard raised in some of the public comment, and certainly appreciated. Running businesses is hard, but that's not this criteria for your review tonight.
I just wanted to add that, yes, QT does hire local. Like David said, we do not come in, extract the money and leave. Most of us live in the community with the exception of our corporate office in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We work in the communities. We participate in community giving in our communities. And we really do aim to be good business partners in the community. We're not here to take money and run. And then as far as putting a car wash here, I did look and see 4 washes east of 225, Gleam, of course, and they offer full detail services, which we don't offer. So they set themselves apart that way. There is a full service car wash, which is also very different. There is a self-service car wash, which is very different. And then there is an Exxon tiny little attached to a gas station car wash. So we do believe that there's plenty of room for us here. And we're looking forward to your comments and appreciate your time.
Great, thank you, Jessica. And first, I'll open the floor for any questions. Final opportunity for questions from the commission for staff or the applicant. Go ahead, Commissioner Hogan.
My question is for Emily. How much notice were you given that this car wash had selected a site? Or did you just drive by and see the sign?
I think, Emily, you still have the ability to unmute yourself.
Great. Okay. I just did so. Okay. I found out one day prior to the sign being posted, which was 10 days prior to this meeting. So almost no time, honestly, to address something of such great concern, not just to me, but to all the other business owners and the community members who I don't think will be very excited to see something new and good potentially go down when their stretch of Colfax is just perking up. So I would love to have more time to work on this.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Commissioner Hogan, does that answer your question?
Sort of. I guess my question is, Emily, given more time, do you think you could reach resolution with 2 car washes, yours and Quick Trip's co-locating? Or do you think more time would just not result in any kind of compromise or resolution?
I don't see how a compromise or resolution is going to be achieved. I run a very good car wash in Denver, and I invested a lot of money in this very desolate stretch of East Colfax, and we're doing better. But I can tell you, I know the market at this point. It is barely supporting 1 tunnel wash, barely. And we are a very good operator. We've created 10 jobs. We have practically 5 stars online. This would be a travesty, honestly, to allow another car wash, not another commercial use, but and not another car wash generally in Aurora, but another car wash less than half a mile away. I believe someone else earlier said that, and this is industry standard. Like, you do not want, ideally, 2 tunnel car washes any closer than 2 miles unless you have significantly greater density than what we have in that area. It's not possible for 2 direct competitors to survive, especially if one of them is incredibly deep pocketed. I mean, Quick Trip has over 1,000 locations, and they just got into car washing, and car washing is great.
Emily,
But
I
I can't
appreciate
compete.
the response, but I'm going to cut you off there. And I think
Sure.
that the question has been answered, and not allowing further extension of time for testimony, it wouldn't be fair to the applicant or any of the other public testimony. Further questions from the commission? Okay, seeing none, before I close this portion of the public hearing, I would like our city attorney, as the commission doesn't abide by the advice of external counsel, we're represented by our own counsel within the city of attorney, to recap any of the code requirements or any advice that our city attorney would like to provide on these 2 particular agenda items. So I will recognize Lena McClellan.
Thank you, Chair Walls, and good evening, members of the commission and everyone else present on this meeting. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. As the commissioners are aware, I've advised before the criteria, well, it was on the screen, but as you know, the criteria is there for you to apply in your decision regarding this application. And the other thing that I just want to remind the commission about is the obligation to create a clear and concise record and in your findings. So in whatever direction the commission decides to go in their interpretation of that criteria, just advise the commission to please be clear and as to why you find the application does or does not meet that criteria.
Thank you, Lena. Are there any questions regarding procedure or code questions that wouldn't be privileged that the commission would have for our city attorney? Okay, seeing none, I will close this portion of the public hearing and entertain a motion first on agenda item 8C, which is the conditional use for the bubble bath car wash at Station 60.
This is Commissioner Jetchik. Excuse me, my nose is running. Agenda item 8C, conditional use for a motor vehicle car wash in MUC zone district. Based on staff recommendation, the presentations and discussions at this evening's public hearing, I move to approve the conditional use request because the proposal complies with the requirements of Code Section 146-5.4.3.A.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance for the reasons stated in the staff report.
Thank you, Commissioner Jetchik. It's been moved to approve agenda item 8C. Is there a second?
This is Commissioner Bush. I second Commissioner Jetchik's.
Thank you, Commissioner Bush. It's been moved and seconded to approve agenda item 8C. I'll open the floor for discussion. Commissioner Geiser.
Yeah, we need to look at the conditional use criteria, and as long as that is met, we should approve this, regardless of how we feel. We don't set policy, city council does. You need to go before city council and ask them to change the requirements if you don't agree with them. But as far as this item tonight, I will approve it.
Thank you, Commissioner Geiser. I'd also like to follow that up and say, members of the public that took time out of your schedules, especially the business owners out there to testify, I can't stress enough how much we appreciate your testimony and thank you for being here tonight. Unfortunately, this venue may not necessarily be the most appropriate place when dealing with density issues because we have a very, very narrow scope. We look at city code as it's written, and we have a very narrow application of that code. And applications that come before us, especially for conditional use, we are weighing whether or not to grant that conditional use, but not on our personal feelings or how much we might love neighborhood or area businesses and support them ourselves. Many of us are business owners, or we have owned businesses in the past, and we understand the density argument. We understand, we know what it's like. Trust me, we feel your pain. We understand that, but we look at prescribed sections of code. And unfortunately, public testimony due to expanding those sections of code isn't appropriate in front of the Planning Commission. City Council are your policymakers. They're the ones that have the ability to actually change and draft legislation for the city of Aurora. And again, this is not the first application we've seen this year that deals with density. And it's time to take this to the legislative body. Our scope is too narrow to even contemplate those types of issues at this point. So unfortunately, I find that this particular application does meet our prescribed sections of code in Code Section 146 for this conditional use. Further discussion on the approval of 8C. Seeing none, I will call the roll. Commissioner Jecic.
Approve.
Commissioner Bush.
Approve.
Commissioner Geiser.
Approve.
Commissioner Riley.
Approve.
Commissioner Benka. I think you were muted there, Commissioner Benka. Was that a vote to approve?
Yes, approve. Thank you.
Commissioner Hogan.
Approve.
And Commissioner Walls also votes to approve. Agenda item 8C is approved with 7 votes. I'll now entertain a motion on agenda item 8D, which is the site plan for the bubble bath car wash at Station 60.
Commissioner Walls, item 8D, site plan for motor vehicle wash. Based upon the staff recommendations, the presentation and discussion at this evening's public hearing, I move to approve with one condition, the site plan for a drive-through car wash because the proposal complies with the requirements of Code Section 146-5.4.3.B.2 Point C, point I of the UDO for the reasons stated in the staff report. Approval is subject to the following condition. Resolve all outstanding technical issues prior to the recordation of the site plan and the issuance of any building permit.
Thank you, Commissioner Hogan. It's been moved to approve agenda item 8D. Is there a second?
Second.
I think I saw Commissioner Benka first, so we'll list her as the second on the motion to approve agenda item 8D. I'll open the floor for discussion on the motion to approve. And I think without objection, I would assume that most of the commission would like their comments for 8C to stand for 8D as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we would request that those be included on the comments and discussion for 8D in our minutes. I think, give me 1 second, commissioners, I apologize. Okay. Is there any other discussion on 8D? Without other discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Jecic.
Approve.
Commissioner Bush. Commissioner Banka,
Approve.
Commissioner Hogan,
Approve.
and Commissioner Walls also votes to approve. Agenda item 8D is approved. Okay, Susan, do we have any members of the public signed up to speak on non-agenda items?
Chair, we do not.
Okay, we will move on to our miscellaneous items of business, item 10 and 10A on our agenda, which is the adoption of our 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting dates. Were there any areas of concern? Does anyone have any suggestions, comments on the proposed dates for our Planning and Zoning Commission meetings next year? No? Seeing none, I move that we adopt the proposed 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting dates as presented to the commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Bank. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Without discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Jecic,
Approve.
Commissioner Bush,
Approve.
Commissioner Geiser,
Abstain.
Commissioner Riley,
I approve.
Commissioner Banka,
Approve.
Commissioner Hogan,
Approve.
and Commissioner Walls also votes to approve. That is 6 votes to approve, 1 abstention. We will adopt the proposed 2026 meeting dates. Any other miscellaneous items of business, any announcements, any comments by commissioners? I just want to start off by saying I appreciate all of you. And as we look to, again, another application and decision and agenda items that are difficult for us because we all live, work, and play in our community, we understand and we care deeply for our favorite neighborhood businesses. And these things are really hard. I get as impassioned as anybody about protecting our great local small businesses. And it's difficult to see corporate entities come and go and things change and things evolve. So I appreciate all of you for digging in and understanding the role and responsibility that we have before us, even though it's really difficult. I appreciate you guys leaning in and understanding that responsibility as a quasi judicial body. So I just wanted to say thank you to my fellow commissioners. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Commissioner Bush.
Yes, I had just a comment of how the planning department works with the Aurora Public School in determining really what comes first. You know, like Commissioner Bank and I have been on both the budget department, budget, as well as the planning, and somehow or another, everybody sort of works together. But when it comes to the school and the city, it seems like we are here to give just a stamp of approval, when I would think that the comprehensive plan is the hierarchy, is the initial, and then Aurora Public Schools, as well as the city, has to work together to make that plan work. You know, we don't just pull in, as Commissioner Banker would say, we don't just count the roofs, you know, and then after we have enough roofs, then we pull in the schools. Somehow or another, something has to be working to say, all right, we have one health science high school that we just put on within the last 10 years. Now we're going to put another one in. Is that going to be a transitional school? And then how does that impact the whole community with reference to developing the way we want it to look? Because that's a pretty dynamic community right now. It could go one way or the other. So I'm a little confused of how tonight worked and how we really work together. Bob.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I have a comment. The state of Colorado sets the educational system apart from cities and counties. And I'd like to ask Lena exactly how does the educational system juxtapose a city.
Yes. Hello again, Chair Walls and Commission. Thank you for the question. So, and I apologize, I do not have the language from the statute in front of me right now, but there are statutes that control how we as a municipality interact with the school district when it comes to planning. And that does set a very narrow guideline for where and how we as a municipality can contribute and sort of be a part of that planning process. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you're talking to, right, that does give a very narrow path for the city in terms of how we can work with the school district. And we do have an MOU with Aurora Public School District that does have some additional sort of guidelines for the process in terms of the site for a school, in terms of the type of school, and all of those kind of things. That's entirely within the school district's purview. And we do not have any ability to comment on that or to have any control over that. Essentially, we have the ability to be a part of the civil planning side, as you've seen in the last couple of meetings that we've had. We have the ability to make comments. We have the ability to staff has the ability to comment on what infrastructure they believe needs to be included or needs to be a part of the application. But beyond that, our hands are tied by the statute.
And I'd like Director Rustad, I see that you went on video. I'd like you to chime in. And first of all, thank you for the memo that you sent out. And I have some follow-up questions about that as well. So go ahead and speak and then I'll follow up.
I was going to hit on the long range side of how planning interacts with the school district. And this might be a great topic for a future study session, because I know enough in Colorado just to scratch the surface, but Daniel Kruzanowski from our long range planning department division has sat on the school board's long range planning committee as they were looking at population growth, what to anticipate, building up to their bond measure. So we do have that coordination, but having sat on one of those committees in my previous iteration in Oregon, schools do have their own metrics about their needs. And I do know that there also had been coordination with the Fitzsimmons Innovation Campus to get this school nearby to have that cross-pollination. And I will do my best to answer any questions on the letter, but we'll keep Lena on because this was a collaborative effort.
I think my questions aren't so much about the specific memo. It was just maybe about the future and what ability do we have as a city, or I guess, is there also appetite to try and work, obviously still within the bounds of the statute that were set by the state, but to be able to make the process better, I guess, for public transparency and going through planning commission and because I'm just thinking back to the application that we had, or the presentation rather, that we had before this one, and we had major concerns with the potential safety and the ingress and egress of the school, and there were valuable things that could come from the community, but we feel powerless to be able to do anything about it.
I think this is a good topic of discussion potentially for our retreat. I want to be able to talk to legal about some ins and outs. I know the MOU, I believe, is with both school districts, and unraveling that, there's pros and cons that we won't get into here. But maybe there are things we can do informally. But let us look into that, talk to our counterparts over there, see what they think, because we hear you. And given that schools serve the public, having that public input seems to be a natural step.
Great, thank you. Any other questions while we're on this topic? Okay, thank you very much, Director and Lena. Any other announcements, general items, miscellaneous items of business?
Commissioner or Chair Walz.
Go ahead.
At our next study session in November, we will be enjoying a discussion with Mike Dean, who oversees public safety in terms of the planning of a site, as well as Carly, who oversees traffic. And we have specifically asked those two because they are rich in history with the city of Aurora. They're very plain spoken. And we'll be prepared to answer a number of questions, anything ranging from, what triggers a signal light and when, to life safety in a school situation, because they do have a little more power, for lack of a better word, than we do. And I guess that, to piggyback on Chair Walz's statement, particularly with staff and frankly, the school district, I am happy to have this conversation with the school district. Yeah. And that's that it just seems so futile for us to be asked to review this. And when we do, to make comments and have them say, yeah, thanks, whatever. It just is extremely frustrating. So it's like, then why do we review it? On the other hand, to not review it and to have what I would call bad behaviors or bad policy go through, when I could have at least said, find another way, or you got to figure this out and come back. I felt better about this school discussion than I did the last school discussion, but it wasn't, I still wasn't overjoyed with it.
Further comment, Commissioner Geiser.
Yeah, you can always go to your state representative and ask them to change the system. I mean, the system is the system, and there's only so much that we can do. We can make comments, and we're advisory, and that's it.
Commissioner Geiser, I was thinking just that.
All right, any other comments, miscellaneous items? Just one note, piggybacking off of Vice Chair Hogan, we are coming up, this year is wrapping up. So as you're thinking about any topics, obviously we will have elections next year for different leadership roles, but start getting your ideas for things that you'd like to see in study session. If we can start to have some of that framed up as early as possible, it helps planning schedules, it helps getting everything arranged. So as you guys have topics, please start sending those to Brandon, to Vice Chair Hogan, to whoever. Just obviously we don't want to have an ex parte like communication without public notice and email. So don't copy the whole commission, but have those discussions and bring up those topics with Brandon and Vice Chair Hogan, please. Okay, moving on to our planning division manager report. Brandon, you are up.
Thank you all. Good job tonight working through the agenda. Appreciate your efforts. I'll do kind of a couple highlights of things that have been approved over the last few weeks. We actually did not have a meeting, right? Last time. Is that true? Yeah, we didn't have a meeting.
We did not have.
So that's news. It's been a long time since we haven't had a meeting. So hopefully we don't have too many of those, right? Because that means we're not busy. A couple highlights, just a couple. Windler, which is kind of the development. You can see they're building houses right now, mostly on the east side of E470, north of 48th, north of Aurora Highlands. And so we approved another neighborhood plan. And so that's a little bit of nuance there. That's kind of the new procedure that we enabled about 8 months ago. That's a little more nimble than the large site plans we used to do. So that was 796 units. So that's a lot of build out to occur there. So hopefully they'll get to be able to work on those. And then at the other end of the spectrum, a fourplex just on Moline, just north of Colfax. So two important but contextually different projects approved. And let's see, working on our UDO project related to small lots and compact housing. I don't think I've had the chance to talk to y'all since our PED meeting. So we did have PED Planning and Economic Development October 8th. And we're able to introduce some substantive questions to that committee related to our directions on greenfield, infield, and some design standards. And so some of you may have seen that presentation. We were able to spend about 45 minutes with that committee, and they did recommend that we go ahead and go to the full city council at a study session. Unfortunately, that study session, which we were scheduled for this Monday, we ran out of time and did not get to talk to them. So we're continue to work on what we're needing to work on, but we'll have to cycle back to the full city council, hopefully in a couple weeks. So that's my update. If there's any questions, I would try to answer them.
Great, thanks, Brandon. Just a sort of a general question, and not to add anything certainly to staff's duties, but I was just curious if you guys are planning, the division gets any invites for any of the like ribbon cuttings or any of the things where you know that there's going to be an opening date in some of the applications that we've heard. I would love if you guys could pass those along to us. If you could just send out, like I know that the Galen School of Nursing and HCA clinic facility just recently had their ribbon cutting, and I completely missed it. Sometimes my emails get, whatever, hidden. But just an announcement, if you guys happen to get anything, obviously don't want to create any notice issues, but if, and I understand, like I saw your video and I understand that's what it was, but just, I don't know if there's any sort of way to let us know that things are coming up that have been put out there or that the city is aware of. I don't know if there's a venue for us to look for those types of events, especially the ones that are public. But
yeah, I appreciate that, Chairman Walls. Certainly we're not noticed of all of them either, but I think we can think about how to approach that in a way that doesn't cause any potential problems and things like that. So definitely on the radar screen. So appreciate that.
Great. Thanks. Questions for Brandon? All right, seeing none. Lena, you're up with our city attorney report.
Thank you, Chair. No report from me this evening, except for I just did want to say I commend just to sort of echo Chair Walls, I commend all of you on handling a difficult application and doing your best to apply the criteria. So just wanted to say that as your legal advisor. I appreciate you all doing a good job with that. And other than that, I don't have anything except for that I will, if it's something that the commission would like, I can certainly look into more of with Janine onto the school district conversation.
I think the desire is definitely there. So put all the heads together and figure out when it's best for us to have. It might be a really good workshop for us to have this coming term. And go over that kind of stuff so we can get a better understanding, and maybe as a result of that there can be a good recommendation for city council or anything like that. So thank you. Any comments, questions for Lena? Yes, Commissioner Hogan.
I think that there was kind of innuendo that this could be, that the bubble car wash could be appealed, and I would like that appeal process from staff to be defined a little bit better, and maybe have comments posted so that folks can ask, why did Planning Commission approve or disapprove? just to do, I know that Janine had some recommendations on things that they may do different this time, but if indeed is appealed, I would like to see that go much smoother than it did the last time with Quick Trip and with David Foster, because he also was very direct in how he worded his, like, you shall not, or you cannot do this. So just some of those types of things. Again, I just would like to see it go smoother.
And Chair, if I may, Janine Rustad, Director of Planning and Business Development. We do have the capacity, so we will save the transcript. So we will have the actual transcript, not just the abbreviated minutes for this, and make sure that we keep that through the 10-day period in case it is appealed.
Thank you, Director Rustad.
Yep.
Okay, any other comments, questions, concerns for Lena? All right, thanks, Lena. Guys, final opportunity for announcements before we adjourn. Anything?
Great job.
All right.
Vote.
Happy Halloween.
We are
Yeah,
all
vote.
residents of this city. However you want to vote, just vote, please vote.
Okay, thanks. Seeing nothing other than that, I move that we adjourn this evening's meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Have a great
Awesome.
evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Have a
staff.
good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.